How much should I charge a brand for a sponsorship? Where should I store all my video footage? What's the difference between an unlisted and a public video? And what counts as a view on YouTube? Well, those are just some of the questions. In fact, I've got 17 of your questions I'm going to be answering on this video. By the way, if we haven't met, my name is Kevin Colby, and I'm so glad you're here. So let's just jump into it. With the growth in TV, should we all be uploading in 4K? That is a great question. It really comes down to you, and in a minute we're going to have another question about storage, but here's the thing. I've seen no studies, and I've heard nothing from YouTube that says by having videos in 4K, you're going to get any more love from YouTube. I do think it has to do with your preference, like if you enjoy 4K, do it in 4K. I've gone back and forth. Most of what I shoot now is in 1080p, and if these numbers mean nothing to you, don't worry about it. Depends on what you do. Like if you do like high scenic things, let's say you're into like just beautiful real estate where you want to show a home that looks amazing, or let's say you're into hiking and you want to show just beautiful vistas. Is that what it's called, vistas? You might want to shoot in 4K. Yes. TVs are huge. We've got a big TV in our living room, but the reality of it is, believe it or not, even though there's 4K sets out there, you're watching a lot of stuff that's not in 4K. I know, shocker, but it is what it is. Even sports, not even all sporting events are in 4K. So my recommendation would be, if you want to put it in 4K, put it in 4K. I think it all has to do with what your video is about. Next question. Hi, Kevin. Hello. If someone puts together a series of videos that were uploaded into a single long video, wouldn't that be considered reused content, even if the content is 100% original and created by them, which can lead to channel demonetization? It's a great question, and no, it does not. So here's what counts as reused. If I took this video right here and I uploaded a second version of it that was the exact same video, that's reused. I haven't changed anything. But if you take a bunch of videos and you string them together into one long video, which by the way is a really good idea, no, that's a new video. Now I would recommend you put something different on it, like maybe you put a different open, or what I've seen some people do is, let's say you string together 5 different videos, but they have a theme, maybe put a transition in there. You pop in and say, hey, and by the way, now in this video we're going to be talking about, or whatever. So again, that's more for the viewer, but no, as long as you're not just completely uploading the exact same video and then you've got 2 of the exact same videos on your channel, you're okay. But again, it's not a bad idea to theme, if you will, some of your videos and to make a longer video. And you can do the flip side of that. You could do a longer video. Like I could take this video and I could cut out pieces and parts of it and just use individual questions as videos. Huh. Not a bad idea. How do I write the info for under the videos and reuse it so I don't have to write it every time for every video? Look, I get you. I had a coaching client a few years ago that had the same problem. In fact, what he was doing is he was going to another video. What they're talking about is under the description, like under a video. And my client friend was going to an old video, copying and paste it. It is really simple to do, and let me show you how to do it. When you go to your settings, you're going to go to Upload Defaults. This is in the studio, and I'm on desktop. This is where I do everything. And notice right there, you see the description, and right now I have 3 things there. There's actually a couple of things that you don't see there. There's about my disclaimer about being an affiliate link. And as long as whatever you put in your upload defaults, as long as you hit save, whenever you upload a video, that information will always be there. So then what I add is I may add other things, like I'll mention some videos in this video and I'll put links to that. I'll put maybe a short description about what the video is, but that is exactly how you do it. A lot of times I just write out what I'm going to say or what I want in my default in Apple Notes. That's what I use. And then I'll just copy it in there in the default. And that way I'm not changing it over and over again. Now, you only get one upload default. So if you're doing shorts and longs and you want something different for your podcast and you want something different for your live stream, it's not going to work. You're going to have to do something different. But what I would recommend is use the defaults There's other things in there you can do. In fact, I've done a whole video about how to upload a video to YouTube and go through all of the settings, and I cover that in there, so you ought to watch that. I'll put a link to that down below. But that's how you can do it, and I'm telling you, it'll save you a ton of time. Please cover how you determine the sponsorship deal, like cost, length. Do you need to be in the promo or commercial? So this is in reference to the video. I've done a couple of videos recently about making money on YouTube and 19 ways that I've made money on and off YouTube. And this is a great question. How do you determine a sponsorship deal? Sometimes a sponsor will come to you and they'll have a budget and they'll say, this is what we're looking for. This is what we can pay. Doesn't happen often. And this is what we can give you. What I have done is a lot of times I will pitch high, knowing that there may be some room for negotiation. So for example, let's say that I'm going to charge $3,000 for a 60-second video integration, which means it's like a 60-second commercial in the middle of my video. Now, I can do 30s and 60s and 90s. And let's say I want to ask 3,000 based on a lot of different things, my experience, views I'm getting, what I think about the product, but I'm hoping they'll come back to 2, and it gives us some wiggle room. So a lot of times that's what I do. What I have determined personally, and I talk about this in another video, is that I don't do fully integrated videos anymore. In other words, I don't do an entire video about a product. I did some of those, and I don't plan on doing them again. I should say never, but I don't plan on doing them again. I would price that completely different. For example, if you're working with a sponsor and let's say the entire video is for their app or their software, we'll just say an app, and let's say you're going to do a 5-minute video, you need to think about what your time is worth, how long it's going to, and then break that down. How long is it going to take you to research what you want to say in the video? And maybe you want to write it. Maybe there's some assets you need to get together. Then you need to shoot it. Then you need to edit it. Or even, are you having to pay an editor? There may be graphics. It can take time, and your time is worth something. And that's another way of factoring it in there. Plus, most fully brand deals, meaning that they're going to pay for the entire video, once you get that, then you don't get paid again. So you need to think about that too, about, how long might that video stay on your channel? And it's about the promo or the commercial. I don't really understand that part of the question, but I do know this. If you have a sponsor in your video, like this video is sponsored, I have to mark it as a sponsorship that includes a paid product or placement when I'm uploading. That way you'll see the little thing pop up in there. And then you want to disclose it as well. So as far as how much to charge, I think you have to kind of determine that and then set a range based on your time and your effort. Now you can dig a little deeper and find out what their budgets are. What I have found is that if you ask for a specific number, they rarely give it to you. So you could throw out some ranges. It's like, well, typically for this, I charge between $2,000 and $4,000. You're hoping to get 3. You'd be happy with 2. Question on editing. I see jump cuts constantly in videos these days. Is that something you run through AI, or do you still edit the manual way? What's the reason for this? And is it edited this way for time or video thought flow? This is a great question. So jump cuts are really a way just to kind of collapse time. A lot of times I'm doing a jump cut just to cut out like, a pause, a long pause, or it took me 3 times to say whatever I wanted to say. And jump cuts in YouTube are just something that's just been around forever. In fact, when I worked in television, we were so purist that news would never put jump cuts in things. And now it's just like, yeah, there's just jump cuts all over. I think you can jump cut it to death, quite honestly. And that's just, is something to think about. Yes, there are AI tools out there that will do it for you. I tend to a lot of times just cut my own. There's some tricks you can do. So like, for example, if you want to look at gaps, you just pause. And then when you're talking again, you can cut that out. So a lot of times you can do it just to shorten the thought. As far as can you overdo it? Yeah, I think you can. But again, that's a preference thing. There are some channels that I've seen, some creators that I think they've cut the life out of it. But again, it's a way of cutting. Typically jump cuts don't have dissolves or any transitions. They just jump from cut to cut, to cut, to cut. I will say this, it's probably the easiest and the simplest type of editing. So there you go. Since we're talking about editing, this is a great time to tell you about today's sponsor, Riverside. Now, Riverside is an all-in-one video production studio that lives in your browser. Doesn't matter if you're on a PC or a Mac. So you can record, you can live stream. But now that we're talking about editing, let me show you some of the things you can do like on this video. One way to edit video is actually edit the text. And by editing the text, you actually will cut the video. Or you can also go down into the timeline, one of the ways I like to edit, and you can just cut out things from there. But if you click on the AI producer, then you have even more options. So like you can remove pauses, and it gives you like a range of how many you want to remove. You can remove filler words. There's even this thing called Find Fluff, and it'll recommend parts of the video. And you don't have to do any of this, and if you apply it, you can unapply it if you will. There's even things like magic audio and smart mute. Smart mute is really good, especially if you're doing an interview, because then it'll mute you if you don't want to talk over your guest, which is kind of annoying. And you can even do things like magic clips, which actually takes your video and finds the best parts for vertical video. And it still gives you the option to edit from scratch or do a fully generated AI polished version of your video, which again saves you a ton of time. Now, if you want to try Riverside for yourself, I'd recommend it. You can use my code Kevin Colby and save 15% off any paid plan. I put a link to Riverside down in the description, and I appreciate them sponsoring this video. Videos take up a lot of space over time. Do you store them on your physical computer hard drive, in the cloud, or an external hard drive? It's a great question. I personally do not, nor would I recommend storing on your computer hard drive. Now, when I'm editing, let's say in Final Cut Pro, and I'm exporting that before I upload it to YouTube, I always export it, I watch it back just to see is it, the way I wanted it. That will be on my hard drive long enough to upload it to YouTube. Once I've uploaded that to YouTube, I delete that file. Beyond that, I am a huge believer in external drives. I have right now 3 external drives. One is called an SSD, and I can put links to all of this down below if you want to check them out. It's an SSD, and that's what I edit off of because it's fast. So the only thing I keep on there are my Final Cut edit files. They're actually called libraries. Then I have 2, what are they, 4? I think I've got a 4 terabyte and a 5 terabyte drive. Those are external drives. They're plugged into my computer, and that's what I'm plugged in actually into the hard drive. And that's what I keep all of my media on, because the less you have on your hard drive, this goes for programs too, your computer's going to run faster, and your computer will just love you because it's not so bogged down. But I also use a service called Backblaze, and I'll put a link to that down below, that backs up my hard drives every night, my external drives. And it's really affordable. I even did a video once about how they really saved my butt when one of my external drives died, and I got a backup for it. So I do use that service to back up my external drives, actually backs up my hard drive too, every night. But I've also used Google Drive to store masters of things, like, I've done some videos on my family and some other videos that I just don't want to lose. I don't think it's a bad idea for something you really, really want to have multiple copies of it. Just know that, it goes back to the 4K question. 4K files are bigger. So the more you have stored, the more you have shot, it may take more storage. But the good news is these external drives, you can buy a bunch of them for not that much money. Clickable links that take people away from YouTube go against what YouTube wants. Why would any platform push content that contains links taking people off the platform? So the reason I included this question is because I think there was some confusion on taking people off the platform. There is no platform that wants you to go somewhere else. I think this is one of the issues when people feel like, and tell me if you're like this, that you want to grow your YouTube channel, but how do I grow it? I need, I've got to share it on X and Facebook and LinkedIn and what's left, Instagram and Pinterest and all these other places. But the reality of it is none of those platforms, not one of them, want you to be using their platform to drive you anywhere else, especially YouTube, but anywhere else. Now, YouTube doesn't care if you're sending the videos out somewhere because they want people to come back to YouTube, right? It makes sense. But The thing is, you don't get in trouble linking off of YouTube. Now, I've heard this for a while, is that if you have links in your description that constantly go off YouTube, they're going to get punished. YouTube's never said that at all. I think YouTube has floated the idea that they wonder really how many people are looking down in the description, and I feel that way too. I do think you can put too much stuff down in your description, but that's a personal choice. I've tried to go more the minimalist description now. But no, linking off is not a problem. What's a problem is if you're linking people off to sites that you have no control over, and all of a sudden that site, is really bad or has the type of content that you don't want to be associated with, or it's spammy, or worst case, it has like viruses and things like that. That's an issue. So one, I would always make sure you're not going to get in trouble for linking off, but I would always ask yourself, is this something I need to link off to? And is it something that I can control? So therefore, it's not just going to get me in trouble, but it could hurt my channel or even hurt the community. I limit to what I link to, period. Now, obviously, if you're doing affiliate links, there's that. But no, you can link off. It's not going to get you in trouble. Do you think YouTube videos should be re-edited to perform better as a podcast? Like if you republish it to Spotify, et cetera, do you think it should be re-edited? It's a really good question. I think, again, it's a preference. So one of the podcasts I enjoy listening to is Micro. The Way I Heard It. He's a great interviewer. And what I noticed one day is that they have a different audio-only podcast than they do the video. So basically, if you start watching the video on YouTube, it just kind of kicks in with the interview, where the audio version of it, he and Chuck, I think is his producer, they're kind of bantering back and forth about the interview they just did or the show. And then typically there's some commercials in there. So do I think you should re-edit it? Not necessarily. This video right here will actually be marked as a podcast as well, because it's a lot. There's a lot of just talking in it. And even though I'm showing a few things, and I'm not going to re-edit it for that. I've seen people do that. I've seen people where they've taken the video and then they'll add something like an open or some music or a different close. Do I think you have to do that? No. And here's the thing about Spotify. I mean, YouTube is still king, but Spotify has video too. So you could literally just take your video and just run with it. I would only re-edit it if you feel like there's something there that's missing, maybe to the ear, or even maybe the video you're doing is so visual that it just doesn't work for an audio-only podcast. So think about that. What if I have a video that by nature really only needs to be under 3 minutes long, but I really do not want it to be treated as a short? Is there a checklist to disable that, or do I just need to make it longer? Really good question. So I don't know when. Well, when YouTube first started shorts, they had to be vertical and under 60 seconds. Well, now they can be vertical or square. Remember, who's saying it? It's hip to be square. Come on. And if you upload a video that is square or vertical and under 3 minutes, YouTube already knows it's a short, and they will label it a short. You don't have to put hashtag short. Don't use hashtags. You don't have to put hashtag short. You don't have to put that shorts. You don't have to tell everybody it's a short. YouTube will automatically treat it as a short, even though I've heard this feature is kind of buggy. If you produce a video that's under 3 minutes, and as long as it's 16:9, like landscape, like horizontal, then there's nothing you have to do. It will automatically appear as a regular video. So if you want it to be a short and it's under 3 minutes, make sure it's either vertical or square. And if you don't want it to be a short and it's under 3 minutes, just make sure it's 16:9 and you should be good to go. I don't have a create button on Studio or YouTube. What do I need to do? Well, chances are you do. When I first read this, I thought they were saying there was a difference in them, and there is. So let me show you this. First of all, everybody has a create button. Everybody has a create button. That's how you create. This is a picture, this is a screenshot of the YouTube homepage. And if you notice in the upper right-hand corner where it says create, when you click on that, you have these 3 options: upload video, go live, and create a post. Now, the reason I'm going to show you these two things is because I actually overlooked the fact that the create button on the homepage is completely different than the create button on your studio. So for example, when you go to your YouTube studio and you click on create, you get more options: upload video, go live, create a post, a new playlist, and a new podcast. Here, let me really make it simple. So the one on the left is the one from the homepage. YouTube only allows you to upload a video, go live, or create a post, and a post used to be called the community tab. The one on the right is from your studio. They give you the opportunity to do more. You can upload videos, you can go live, you can create a post, a playlist, and a podcast. So I want to show you this distinction because there may be some confusion where you're trying to do a playlist, or maybe you're trying to do a podcast and you don't see it. And there is a slight difference. Now, I don't upload anything from mobile. You can. There may be a difference there. But if you're on your homepage and you hit create, don't freak out. Just go to your studio. Even if you upload from your homepage, it's still going to get you to the studio. In fact, as soon as you upload the video there from the homepage, it automatically takes you to the YouTube studio. So you're going to get there either way. Bro, how do you get the still shots from your videos to make them your thumbnail? I probably should do a whole video about this, and if you want to see that, let me know. In fact, I'm thinking about doing a course, just a mini course on just thumbnails in general. But there's several different ways. Sometimes I'm not grabbing a still from the video. Sometimes I'm actually taking a shot after. A lot of my thumbnails have been shot with my iPhone. Yes, including the front-facing, not the rear-facing camera. I know. Radical, but hey, that's me. So sometimes I'm actually taking photos and I'm I'm posing. Sometimes I've taken photos with my DJI Osmo Pocket 3, which I shoot so much video with it that I've even forgot, oh yeah, it's got a camera and it's got a timer on it. So if I'm doing a video for this, I can just go, sorry, that was nasty. There was a little throat noise there. If I just go like that, there's different ways I can pause it. I can literally just pause the video and do a screenshot of that. I use a tool called CleanShot X. It's for Mac only, but it's really, really cool. I use that for all of my screenshots because I can draw on it. In fact, the screenshots I've used in this video, that's what I used and drew on them in the screenshot. But I also use QuickTime because I found out not too long ago that if you, like I'm making a thumbnail in Canva, and this works in any program you're going to make a thumbnail in, Canva, Keynote, whatever. But all you do is if you're playing the video and you pause it, you can right-click on it and you get an option of copy image. And it literally just copies it and you can paste that image right there into, again, let's just say Canva. And it is like magic. So it's not that hard. It's just a matter of doing that. Now, you can take it a step further. Like if I'm editing in Final Cut Pro, Final Cut also has a frame, so I can like get to the video where I want and just hit pause, and then I can export that frame because all video are just frames. So I'm shooting this in 30 frames, so that means every second there's 30 frames put together. There's 24 frames, there's 60 frames. So it's not that hard, but let me know if you want to see a video on that, and maybe I'll work on that. What's the difference between unlisted and public? So here's the short answer, and I've done an entire video I'll link below about the difference between private, unlisted, and public, but it's still a good question. So think of it this way. If you want the World Wide Web to see your video, if you want them to possibly share it, to comment, to like, whatever, the video's got to be public. Any video with a public link can be seen by anybody in the World Wide Web. Unlisted can be seen only by someone who has the link. Now there's an asterisk, so just hang on. I'll tell you about the asterisk in just a minute. If I upload this video right now that I'm recording to my YouTube channel and I leave it unlisted, you'll never see it. And I'll be sad. But I'm going to make it public, and so when I make it public, everybody can see it. Now, remember I said there was a little asterisk? Here's the asterisk. Playlists work the exact same way. So if you have like I have a bunch of playlists that I have unlisted or even private for various reasons. But if you have a playlist, which is just, all it is just a bunch of videos in a list, playlist, and you make that public and you put an unlisted video into a public playlist, anybody who has the link for that will see that video. So just think about that. So let's say you've got a playlist of, my greatest guitar riffs, and it's public, but you've done a video for a client, a special song for them, and you made it unlisted. If you put that video in that public playlist, anybody with that link can see it. So I hope that clears it up. There is a difference. It's a good question. Watch that other video. I go through all that. What about subtitles? Maybe they didn't ask it that way. So here's the thing. Here's what I think they're asking. Do you do subtitles? And I know there's some companies out there that are not cheap that create subtitles for you. Here's the thing. When your video is uploading to YouTube, it's automatically reading your video, meaning it's reading it frame by frame. It's smart enough to know right now that I'm in an office. If I were doing this at a coffee shop, it would know that. It knows enough about what's going on in it, and it's transcribing your video. It's actually reading my words. And if you want to check this out, check this out. If you want to find it, go to any video. Now, you have to do this on a video level, but go to details. And again, this is a video. Go all the way over and you see subtitles. And then when you click on that, these are the subtitles that YouTube generated for that video. And I'm going to say it's really, really good. Now, you can also go in there and edit if you want to. To my knowledge, it doesn't edit the video. Then you can also download this, which I know some people do want that. They want the subtitles. So it is possible. But what I have found is the subtitles are so good. I would not recommend paying anybody to subtitle your videos. And if you think you need it, when you turn closed caption on, that's where it's pulling from. It's pulling from your subtitles. Now, you may want to go, I've never, ever had a place get my last name right. My last name is Colby with a K, and for some reason it wants to spell it with a C and a Y, like the cheese or the show years ago. That was a spinoff of Dallas that wasn't that good, but that's a different topic. I wouldn't get wound up about subtitles. YouTube is generating them. They're really good. And this could be a whole different video. You can actually then copy those subtitles and take it into AI and have some fun with it. What do you say to somebody who wants to make videos about many various topics on one channel? No! I'm just joking. Look, it depends on how you define various topics. It depends on what you want to do with your channel. You really need to think about this, and I didn't do this for years. Why do you want to start a YouTube channel? There's no right answer. There is no right answer. There's no wrong answer. If you want to just do it to have fun, do it. If you want to do it to grow your business, that's fine. You want to do it to help your nonprofit. You want to do it to have your personal brand, which is kind of what mine is. You want to do it to help other people. It can be a combination of that. Why do you want to start it? What do you hope happens with your YouTube channel? What does success look like? What does all this have to do with that? Well, if you're just doing a channel just to have fun, just to have a YouTube channel, you don't even care anything about monetization and stuff like that, it doesn't really matter. It can be a hodgepodge of things. Can you do various topics on the same channel? Depends. So let's just say your channel is on gardening. There's so many different topics you could do under gardening. Now, just because somebody's interested in maybe rose bushes, they may not be interested in corn, right? Those could be completely different, or they're more into inside gardens where somebody's outside. So there is a way where I think even within a topic, you can kind of start losing people. There could be various topics under there. It depends on how broad you get or how niche. So again, if you're just talking about I'm going to do a video on hiking, and then I'm going to do a video on calligraphy, and then I'm going to do a video on, how to talk in sign language, those things may not have a thread, but again, it is YouTube, meaning it's your channel, so you can decide that. Hey, Kevin, great information. Thank you. Can an existing video be recategorized as a podcast? Yes, it can be. And I think I've covered that in another video where I kind of show you how to do that, how to set up a podcast. I'll put a link to that down below. But if you go all the way back to the create button, you can create a podcast. But a podcast on YouTube is really just a playlist. And so what you can do, like this video right here, this video will live as just a regular video on my channel, but it will also go into the playlist Ask Kevin Almost Anything, which is also a podcast. So you actually go through it on video by video level, and you'll have the option of selecting the playlist. You don't have to put it in any. It'll always just be a video, but yes, you can always take any video, even an old video, and recategorize it as a podcast. And in fact, if you want to get into podcasting, I'd highly recommend you do that. Please explain what a view is. Is a view when someone has watched something a little bit, or does it only count as a view when it has to start and the absolute end like 100%? This is a really good question that I think can cause a lot of confusion, because a view is not the same on every platform. Like years ago, I don't know about now, but years ago, Facebook, a view was like 3 seconds. I mean, you could accidentally accidentally have a view on Facebook in 3 seconds. Now, there was a lot of controversy because they were selling those as, look how many videos your view got, especially if you're doing paid ads. And it's like, yeah, I don't think anybody saw that. On YouTube, not talking about shorts, on YouTube, long form is considered 30 seconds. 30 seconds counts as a view, but it doesn't have to be in a row. It has to be 30 seconds of that video. So let's say you start, please don't do this on my videos, you'll break my heart. But let's say you start watching and you skip ahead and you skip ahead and you skip ahead, but you watch a total of 30 seconds, that will count as a view. Now, you can go into your analytics on a channel-wide basis or a video-wide basis, and you can see what the average view duration is. And it's going to tell you on average how much of that video has been watched. It can change over time. It can fluctuate. I choose not to look at that because, quite honestly, it's just too much information for my little pea brain, and I don't like that. But that's what a view is for. The reason I said not shorts, because technically an impression counts as a view, because if you think about it, shorts are all autoplay. They're just all autoplay, which reminds me of something I need to point out too. When you're scrolling and a short starts playing, it's even if you didn't do anything, it's going to count because it's more of an impression. You didn't do anything active. So let me go back to a view. A view has to be something the viewer initiates. So for example, if you take and you embed your videos onto your website, let's say, and they're set to autoplay, so that means somebody goes to your website and the videos just start playing, you will not get credit for that as a view. YouTube wants the viewer to make the decision to click on it and play. Now, I do know you can hover over a thumbnail and it'll start playing. I'm not really sure if that counts or not. I think it does, but again, that's on YouTube. If this is for you, but if you have your video set to autoplay, you're going to lose views. So I would honestly, what I would recommend is never use autoplay and make the viewer decide to watch it, because then again, hopefully you're producing content that they want to click on based on the thumbnail and the title and the topic and all that good stuff. So, hey, I hope this helps you, and I really appreciate the questions. And remember, if you're ready to create, just start creating and show the World Wide Web what you got to offer.